How I predict divorce. I have superpower. I have the ability to predict divorce. Once upon a time, I had a couple of friends, James and Nora. Both were in their late 20s and married. James and Nora say that their marriage isn't perfect, but they say they love each other and are committed to staying together. One day, I overheard them on an ongoing disagreement they were having. After listening to them talk, I sadly predict that James and Nora will see their marital happiness dwindle, and sure enough, 4 years later they report they are on the verge of divorce. Although they still live together, they are leading lonely lives. They have become like ghosts, haunting the marriage that once made them both feel so alive. I predict their marriage will falter not because they argue. Every couple argues. The clues to a couple's future breakup are in the way they argue. The most obvious indicator that a marriage is not going to go well is the way their arguments begin. When their arguments begin with criticism and/or sarcasm, a form of contempt, it will inevitably end on a negative note. Criticism, contempt, and defensiveness are the biggest indicators of a divorce. Criticism. You will always have some complaints about the person you live with, but there's a world of difference between a complaint and a criticism. A complaint only addresses the specific action at which your spouse failed. A criticism is more global. It adds on some negative words about your mate's character or personality. Complaint. There's no gas in the car. Why didn't you fill it up like you said you would? Criticism. Why can't you ever remember anything? I told you 1,000 times to fill up the tank, and you didn't. Then contempt. Name-calling, eye-rolling, sneering, mockery, and hostile humor. In whatever form, contempt is poisonous to a relationship because it conveys disgust. It's virtually impossible to resolve a problem when your partner is getting the message you're disgusted with him or her. Inevitably, contempt leads to more conflict rather than to reconciliation. Defensiveness. This is because defensiveness is really a way of blaming your partner. You're saying, in effect, the problem isn't me, it's you. Defensiveness just escalates the conflict, which is why it's so deadly. Stonewalling. Think of the husband who comes home from work, gets met with a barrage of criticism from his wife, and hides behind the newspaper. The less responsive he is, the more she yells. Eventually he gets up and leaves the room. Rather than confronting his wife, he disengages. By turning away from her, he is avoiding a fight, but he is also avoiding his marriage. He has become a stone waller. Body language. When your body goes into overdrive during an argument, it is responding to a very primitive alarm system we inherited from our prehistoric ancestors. All those distressful reactions, like a pounding heart and sweating, occur because on a fundamental level your body perceives your current situation as dangerous. When a pounding heart and all the other physical stress reactions happen in the midst of a discussion with your mate, the consequences are disastrous. Any chance of resolving the issue is gone. Bad memories. When a relationship gets subsumed in negativity, it's not only the couple's present and future life together that are put at risk. Their past is in danger too. Most couples enter marriage with high hopes and great expectations. In a happy marriage, couples tend to look back on their early days fondly. Even if the wedding didn't go off perfectly, they tend to remember the highlights rather than the low points. The same goes for each other. They remember how positive they felt early on, how excited they were when they met, and how much admiration they had for each other. When they talk about the tough times they've had, they glorify the struggles they've been through, drawing strength from the adversity they weathered together. But when a marriage is not going well, history gets rewritten for the worse. When a marriage gets to the point where the couple have rewritten their history, when their minds and bodies make it virtually impossible to communicate and repair their current problems, it is almost bound to fail.